Hi guys. So I just got a very interesting call from a journalist who told me that there is a place where they're chasing out all foreigners and they don't want any foreign nationals, whether documented or undocumented, and what is my take on it. And this is my honest and sincere answer, right? Because we always get people saying, oh, you are fighting people even if they're documented or undocumented. So, documenting a person who's not from that country to come to a particular country is done for a reason. And here's the reason. If I wake up this morning and I decide I want to go on holiday to France, and I need to let the French people know of my intention to come to France on holiday, and then the French will ask me in a questionnaire, how long are you staying? Where are you going to be staying? Do you have enough money to stay here? And then when it's time to go back, are you going to be able to afford to go back? They do that because they don't want to let me come on holiday and then eventually I do not leave their country. So this is a safety measure that they put in place to protect their country from people who are coming into France to stay permanently, whereas they do not have an intention of going on holiday, for example. Now, with South African law, there's actually the same thing or similar, where if I want to come to South Africa as a foreigner, I have to go through the application process. In fact, one of the things that I'm supposed to have when I come to South Africa is medical insurance. Now, medical insurance means that as a foreigner, if I get sick in this country, I'm going to go and get treated in a private hospital in South Africa, right? So the problem that we have in South Africa is the fine line between someone who's a foreigner and someone who's an illegal immigrant. So the word undocumented, they are using to gaslight us, trust. Because when they say undocumented, they are running away from the fact that there are people who are in this country illegally. And by illegally, we mean that they have broken the laws of this country to be in this country. For example, someone from Mozambique, Malawi, Zimbabwe, etc. comes into South Africa with a passport and they start working. And then that person says that they are documented, which is false, because a passport is a traveling document. It allows you only to travel into South Africa. You get a stamp, you stay for those days that they've given you, and you go back. Funny enough, that stamp is 60 days, not 60 days and go back and get a stamp and go back and get a stamp. That's not how it's supposed to work. You're supposed to get a stamp and then in that period go back to your country. And you can't come back in, out, right? With different stamps. You send your stamps to the border to get stamped and come back and then decide it's a reason to stay in the country. That is also breaking the laws of the country. As much as Zimbabweans think that having a passport means that they are documented, because I know they are the loudest. You do not have a right to stay in South Africa and work and do all these things just because you've got a passport. Second to that, the fine line between foreigners and illegal immigrants in South Africa comes because there's foreigners who are documented but with fake documents, and we know this. A lot of them do not have the correct documents to be in the country. They're documented, but those documents are fake. Or they're using other people's identities who are South Africans, even people who are dead. That's how cruel they are. And that's the extent that they go to get South African documents. So those are the people who are still, you have broken the laws. You're still illegal, whether you've got a piece of paper or not. But now going back to what the community is saying, is something I said a long time ago, and I'm going to say it again, that when you have broken the laws of someone else's country, come in and stayed there, and forcefully integrated yourself into a community that was not given an option, whether they want you in that community or not, you are calling for problems. And this is the problem that the South African government needs to take responsibility for, because they are the ones who have created a system where they give people documents like refugee status or asylum seekers or ZDPs. And then these people go into the communities that South Africans do not even have a say in whether we want these people there or not. On top of that, It's not like they behave well. It's not like you come into those communities, you behave like a visitor. No, they want to take over. They want to be pompous. They want to be over the top. They want to be bossy. They want to take the jobs. They want to take the businesses. They want to even everything that the community has. So it's bound to happen. I'm not saying it's correct, but it's bound to happen. Because at the end of the day, government cannot forcefully force South Africans to integrate with people that they did not ask to integrate with. It's the government that must take care of these asylum seekers and refugees and whatever. And if it's NPOs and NGOs that are fighting for them to stay in the country, then the government needs to transfer those people back into the hands of those NPOs and NGOs, not into the hands of South Africans. South Africans don't need to be integrating with foreigners, to be honest, by force. If we want to integrate with them, let us integrate by choice. Let us want to have a relationship with people who are well behaved in this country, who treat themselves like visitors, who know the laws, who respect the laws, who are clean. Don't force us to integrate with people that we do not ask to integrate with. If the government wants these people to integrate with them, take them to your houses, take them to your communities. Why are you living in estates and all these fancy places and then forcefully send people to go live in communities by force that you don't live in? No, don't do that. I don't think it's a fair thing to say that the community is wrong if they're saying they don't want to integrate with so-called refugees and asylum seekers or foreigners who are there doing things that are ungodly. If the community is tired, the community is tired. There's nothing and it's nice because they're not killing them, they're not burning them, they're just asking them nicely. We no longer need you in our community. Please leave. And as a foreigner, you need to respect that and leave. Because you can't be going to complain to the rest of the world that people who rightfully own this place don't want you there. Because now you have a choice who you want in your house and who you don't want in your house. You don't get forced to live with your neighbor's children by force because the government says so. So I'm saying, foreigners, South Africans have expressed over and over again that they do not want you in their country, especially right now with all the problems that they're facing. And I'm talking specifically to foreigners who are in the country conducting themselves in a way that is not correct. People who didn't follow the due process to come into the country. People who are illegal immigrants living in the country in ways that are not part of our culture or our ways of living. South Africans are asking you nicely, kindly, please leave the country. Don't leave this neighborhood to go to another one. No. Prepare yourself to go back to your country. But many of them don't want to hear that. Instead, they want to say xenophobia. They want to swear South Africans. They want to... And I'm telling you again, as I've been telling you for a whole year, it's not going to help you in any ways. You can swear all day, every day. You can say, I win, thou, all you want. But you're not going to stay in a place where a person no longer wants you. It's that simple. Just go home, guys. And if you need to come back into the country, come back properly. Apply, etc., and come for scarce skills. You can't be coming to South Africa to sell tomatoes on the street or open a tuck shop, something South Africans could have been doing all along, and have been doing all along, because that is just you creating competition that is unfair. And I'm also going to address this issue, maybe later on today, or maybe in a few minutes, where you talk about the economy. Every time you talk about migration, you bring in the economy. Every time you talk about migration, you bring in the economy. Those are two separate things. Now, how do you think? And it's these people that always think that they are the biggest Africans over the rest of us. Hi guys, so thank you so much for all the people who have come out in the eThekwini CBD cleanup that we've had. You guys have been doing such an amazing job, to see all the citizens come out in numbers and clean and make sure that they reclaim their city. It has been beautiful to watch. And not only that, there's a couple of shops that had foreign nationals, and now they're letting them go because obviously they're undocumented. They shouldn't even be in the country. And the people that are on the streets, Nabo, are showing appreciation. And there's a lot of positive feedback that we're getting from people who are people who frequent town, to see the place clean, to feel that dignity, that pride, which this is my country, that's something that money can't buy. So I just want to say thank you so much to everyone that's come out to the cleanup. And then, just to highlight the resilience of South Africans. I love that about my country. I know that we might have our own problems. We've got our own crimes that we deal with. We've got our own corruption. We've got our own issues with alcohol, etc., etc. But when South Africans decide that they want to unite for a common cause, they make sure. And I really commend you guys for that. Thank you. So now to talk about the cleanup. Now I knew for a fact that when we start this cleanup, the people that would give us the biggest problem is not going to be foreigners. It's going to be South Africans, because foreigners know they're wrong. They know they're not in compliance. They know that they're illegal in the country. And even though some of them might try their luck, but they don't boldly do it because they know that they're breaking the laws. And when they see police there, they have a bit of fear, unlike South Africans. Now, here is my problem. And of course, when I'm saying South Africans, I'm generalizing. I'm talking about those that actually have a problem. So we've received some complaints from people who claim that they're losing out on business, others saying that they were not told that there's going to be a cleanup, others saying that foreigners are not going to go anywhere, blah, 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 that we're jealous, like something as ridiculous as saying that people are jealous for cleaning up their city. So I just want to start with those that are complaining about their business. And here's the thing about being trapped in a system, because you end up not even realizing that you're being trapped in a system, because they'll give you crumbs, because there's bread and then there's crumbs. And then the politicians will promise you the moon and the stars, promise you land, promise you that you're going to take over white people's businesses, promise you all kinds of ridiculous things that they haven't done until now, because they know it's difficult. So in the meantime, while they're making these promises, what is happening to you? Because Belangit, the land is not here now. The miracles that they've had years and years of trying to fix are not happening now. So what happens to a woman who's on the streets selling tomatoes, selling amazambane, and they say, oh, you're fighting, you're making people fight for tomatoes when they can fight for land. But there's no land that they're getting. The only thing they have right now is those tomatoes that's helping them make a living. Now, when you say that people must come in from everywhere in the world and come and sell those same tomatoes that this South African is selling, do you not think that that creates competition for them? So instead of having 3 South Africans selling tomatoes, you've now got 15 people selling tomatoes. That obviously limits the profitability for the 3 South Africans, when the other 12 people can go back to their country and sort things out, fight with their government, same way that we are. Because I promise you, there's no way we're going to sort every single African country's problems. Even if we tried, it's impossible. Even if we wanted to, it's impossible. So don't create the expectation that South Africa is going to solve African problems, because we're not. So we've got a problem here with people who think they sound woke because they'll tell us about our skin color and what, and they'll tell us that there's a land to fight for, blah, blah. You've had years and years to fight for the land. And until now, how much have you delivered? So we're delivering real practical things that people can get by with today. So those who are people who are in business, please find more creative business ways. Opportunities are going to open up. Those shops are not in compliance. It's got nothing to do with not liking foreigners or whatever. It's not about feelings. And it's not about feelings. It's about the law. Foreigners are in this country owning shops that they should not be owning. Foreigners are in this country breaking the laws of this country, and then you feel sorry for them because you have become so entangled in the system. Look, first of all, I just am going to sit here in utter shock that I have to listen to a man who came from his country to come and tell me about patriotism when he probably doesn't even do a thing about his own country that's about to change the constitution and allow for 2030 to happen. I've never heard Mr. Sibanda say a single thing to try and stand up for the people of Zimbabwe and stand up for his country. So he's the last person to tell me about patriotism and how I should exercise patriotism in my country. I'm not the one on a Zimbabwean national television platform fighting to get other South Africans documented in Zimbabwe, first of all. Second of all, Mr. Sibande, my surname is Zuma. I'm Mrs. Zuma to you. And lastly, well, not lastly, but second to last, Mr. Sibande, you are sitting here telling us about all kinds of corruption that's happening at Home Affairs. But have you ever for once reported that corruption? Because seemingly you know all the ins and outs.
So if this report of SIU did not come out, when are we going to hear all these revelations that you know, Mr. Sibande? It shows that you know and you're part of the system that is enabling all this corruption to happen, but you're not going to stop it because it enables Zimbabweans to leave their country and come here and reap our country and take off all our resources to benefit you as Zimbabweans. And you're not going to stand up for Zimbabweans in Zimbabwe because you don't have the guts to. That's why you only have guts here in South Africa, because you know that when you're in Zimbabwe, you're small cats. Also, Mr. Sibande, let me tell you, for the longest time we've been saying to you that there are too many illegal immigrants in this country, and you are busy telling us about ZDPs and all these refugee statuses, etc., etc. Now, do you consider a person that has fraudulently occupied and received documents to be in South Africa a person who is legally in the country? Of course not. That person is an illegal immigrant, and you, Mr. Sibande, are also involved in that corruption. Why are you not telling Katleho that you also are trending and you are in the newspaper and in the news for fraudulently getting documents to be in South Africa? Now you've got a television platform that allows you to speak, and you think that you have been accused of standing up and admitting that you also went into that system and corruptly entered into South Africa. Why are you not telling the truth, Mr. Sibande? Being on television must not absolve you from the truth of who you are.
Right.
And you are a Zimbabwean that's running away from who you really are, and that is a person that is in the country fraudulently but has been given platforms to speak, and you're using that to paint yourself as a victim. You are not a victim. You are part of the corrupt system, and you're not helping this country in any way.
So,
you need
Jacinta,
to go back to Zimbabwe and fix it for yourself and for your children and their future.
On a broader spectrum, Jacinta, how do we solve the problems that are faced by the millions of South Africans that is impacted by what this SIU report has now put out?
First of all, we solve the problems by not allowing Zimbabweans to tell us what to do in our country. It's our country, and therefore we need to know and say what's best for us. Second to that, we have departments and we have things like the SIU and the Hawks, which we're very happy that finally they've come up with this report and come out with it. Because when we met them for the first time, they did tell us that they are on to a report and they're waiting for a report from the SIU. This is what we were told from the Department of Home Affairs, and we are very happy to finally see it materialize.
Sukela namhlanje la empangeni akasekho umuntu ozogunda abantu okungayena wakuleli. Sukela namhlanje la empangeni akasekho umuntu ozosuka ezweni lakhe ethuluka amantombazane ebhizi. Umuntu osifazane ulukwa ngumuntu osifazane la kodwa. Aluke nje indoda. Niyazwa akho umuntu ozoluka abafazi bethu lapha elokho ebaluka ebuke zonke izinto ke manje amlalisa ambhekise phezulu ambuka intamo ambuke yonke indaba. Akasekho umuntu wangaphandle ozoba nesalon la eSouth Africa. Akasekho umuntu wangaphandle ozoba ne-tuck shop la empangeni. Hayi la idolobheni kuphela, siye emakhaya endaweni zamakhosi, siyobakhipha khona ama-tuck shop amaningi kangaka asondelene enye lapha obani abathenga kuyo ngoba la makwelepele nje hamba ngamaveni amakhulu kanje. Kudayiswa ama-drugs lapha emakhaya, ngoba lezi ngane ezincane